Well, here I am, another experiment. About 1 o'clock on a hot afternoon in the autumn. A lake I've not fished before. In fact, I only just fished a small pond there a few days ago, and I had to walk around this one. There's some lovely lilies, but I just can't be bothered to walk all the way through there. Most of the swims are gone anyway. So I've come to peg number 1. That shows how lazy and hot it is. It's the closest place to the car park, and of course you might get fish quite a bit that way, and therefore a bit of bait goes in. I don't know, it's the experiment. Not an unpleasant swim. They say there's a few tension here, crucians, roach, rudd, bits and bobs. I've thrown some balls of ground bait down here. I actually bought a 2-rod ticket so I can put a quiver tip up here and just leave it on a method feeder, and I'm going to float fish down there. But I did chuck a single ball out just off the left of those rushes. Of course I haven't even plumbed the depth or looked yet. I'm just assuming it's relatively shallow, 4 feet, something like that. So we're giving it a go with maggots. Grant's tackle up, he gave me some brandlings. He said if the tench do actually start blowing or the crucian carps get bubbling, they disturb the bottom and send up bubbles, he should try and put in a small dendrobina worm in there, because he said sometimes in the hot still weather, and it's very, very tough, you can still pick a fish off like that. So it's just a question of looking for a bite. Which reminds me, it's lunchtime. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm fishing with the, I can't show you one. It's a ready made up pole rig there. There's the float. It's got a sort of a float stop here and here. It goes through, I've cut it way back to about 5 feet. I've cut it way back to about 5 feet, and there's a bunch of small shot there, 3 maggots. I suppose I'm about 3 feet, about 1 metre deep in foreign language. So I'm just going to flick that out there. Why is that not? Why is that not? That's better. There's small fish biting there, probably roach, I guess. Probably quite a lot of small roach, but I've not put any loose feed in yet because I put quite a bit of ground bait in to start with. And I'm going to fish with a feeder bouncing between here and out there. Probably try it out there first because it seemed a little bit deeper. And I think I'm going to start with what Grant said, try a worm on the hook bait. Now a lot of people put the ground bait in the feeder first. Okay, in these method feeders, put the ground bait in first. The trouble being, I've got maggots in there. So if I squeeze that in, by the time I've fiddled and put my hook bait on here, a lot of the maggots have wriggled out. So I do it the other way round. I'm going to put a small worm on first. Now if you're on like barbless hooks, mentioned this tip before, if you just try and put a few rotational twists, I'm calling them, in the worm, they have a lot more trouble getting off the hook with a barbless. So we'll see what happens with this one. I'm just going to leave it loose. I'm not going to put it on the top. So that's basically what it looks like. I've no idea. I know I'm possibly not in the best spot, but it's too late in the day to move or anything now. I think we'll just heave it out there. Wow, it feels quite a bit deeper over there. And then just rest that. Just rest it in the rest. Well, it's called a rest for that reason, but just like that. So when I'm float fishing, if anything grabs that, I can actually see it pull down. Make sure if you've got worms in this hot weather. I didn't bring a cool box, my fault. It's got the temperature thing there, look, 10 degrees. It's 28 today. They might not survive well. A little bit of loose feed out there. I'm sure it's going to get eaten by a lot of small fish. Now, because I'm on a real budget tight time, the other one I fished in here, I may actually give it a little while and then put a couple of balls of ground bait in there close. And if this is a total blowout, then obviously I'll go over to that one and see if I can pick a fish off in there. Would be nice to come early doors, early morning, but that's not happening with me, trying to get jobs done. Mowing lawns this morning. I'm just throwing those out because I feel there's, if I can get regularity going, I saw a little minor swirl under the surface and I'm wondering if there's roach or rudd on the top there, taking them as they go down. If you feed lots of little ones like this, 666 as a bite, 666 going down in a cloud, you can keep them near the surface and you can probably, oh, I missed that one. Let's have another go there. I'm getting little small fish dipping the float under. It dips under and comes up and stays. That was generally a small fish knocking and tugging at it. You want to go down and strike half a second later. You know, it's held down. We can but try, folks. Well guys, we went from filming a dragonfly to a reasonable roach. Here we are. I think the dragonfly got a bit of a shock when I struck the rod though. It's so hot, it's almost unfishable. I'm not really sure what I've talked myself into by coming to a lake in the middle of a blazing hot afternoon. I wanted to be near the lilies, but it's just anglers. Wherever there's a lily, there's an angler. For the crucians, there are, for the crucian carp. That's a better bite, and I still missed it. Well, I've lost one small roach in there, but only about this big, just came off before I could swing it in. And some very, very tentative taps on the... oh, hang on a minute, people. Looks like a perch. Oh my goodness, not a bad one. Not a bad one at all. Well, that's not a bad start, little perch like that. Whoa, don't spike me, buddy. And there he is. A start. Well, I tried. White maggots have got quite a nice roach here. Oh dear, just about a swinger. Yeah. So I'm literally no more than about a rod length out there. Tiny little dips that you get as soon as you cast out is where the float's here, the shot's sinking through the water and small roach are grabbing it halfway on the drop where it's falling down. Oh, I thought I saw a tremble on that. Another small one, small perch. Action is all on the float at the moment. No bubbles. That's my only sort of concern. I'd like to see a few bubbles coming up in the swim. Now you guys won't see them, but on the surface going along, and that must be this year's fry that have bred. They're maybe an inch long like this, just very, very small. Good sign to see though, it's obviously pretty healthy water if the fish are breeding. See the weight, all the ripples they're making there. There you see them on the surface, look. They look like small roach to me, but almost sure to have been hatched this year. The thing is, when you get those small fry like that, like 1 inch long fry, and perch about 4 inches like that, to me that could be 5, 6, 7 years up the road. There might be some really good perch fishing because they're going to be wanting to eat those fry. They're going to be coming off of obviously the anglers, worms and maggots, all the natural insects in the water, and then they're going to want to go, because they're a predator, even the little perch will be looking for other fish, and those 1 inch long roach fry are classic for a perch to be feeding on. I've no idea whether there's giant perch in there or not, but who knows, in a few years there might be. Well, 10 or 12 perch later, you see I've gone float fishing with a worm and I'm still getting perch. Feeders had a couple of taps, so if I'm going to get these all the time, I might actually go over that other pond and chuck some bait in there. Actually, I think I'm going to do that now. I'm going to wind the rods in, and I think at this stage in the afternoon it's not going to be loads of people turning up, and I'm okay for ground bait. A few more mags in there. Oh yeah, the maggots are going all down the bottom. I just put a bit in a swim over here. Well, as soon as I do that, some guys have turned up, so I better just hold off here. They might be fishing the other lake. Right, let's see what's happening. Hopefully they go right round. They're probably coming down for the big crucian carp that this water's supposed to be famous for. Oh yeah, I see fish moving past there. Right, we just let that set for half an hour and I'll move round there. Pack this one out, hopefully nobody goes in that swim. If there's 10 blank swims, the chances of them going in there's remote, isn't it? I'll just have to tough it out here for a while. It just seems to be perch central, maggots or worms, and as fun as they are to catch, there's only a certain amount of small ones like this that you can catch. I'm using segments of dendrobina worm. I just try right over by those bushes, by the rushes there. I think I'm going to be moving. Nothing, not a feeder. I'm now back up under the bush here. Not a tremor. Well, at least this one's different. Skimmer or a roach? No. Oh, that's the second nice roach I've had. There we go. Quite a nice fish, look. Palm size. I always think good roaches from here down to over your wrist. Even though I've got brandlings here, I'm calling them brandlings, dendrobinas. Don't be afraid just to either snip them back or snap them like that. Put it on the lid, because you've got the juice coming out there as well. You're right near, or getting towards Gatwick Airport here. Or better still, you can put your hand wipe in the maggot tin and they'll wriggle it in the fibres. Nice. It's a bad move not bringing a cool block to keep these baits chilled. Enough bait that any tension. There he goes. Here he goes. There he goes. There he goes. A perch, I'm going to say. Watch. There you go. It was a slow pull, as they say. They can be an absolute pain. The small ones, anyway. Well, got another roach on, makes a change to the perch anyway. I think I might as well pack the other rod up. I'm not getting any bites on that at all. It's been floated all the way. So, I found him. I think I'm just going there, let's just go and have a look, see if there's any bubbles. What's put me off is I'm not seeing bubbles. Bubbles mean bream, crucian carp, tench. Oh, I see them already, people. Oh my god, OMG. You might be able to see there's a load of bubbles there. That's me done. That is me done. I cannot keep away from bubbling fish. Let's get moved before somebody gets in there to swim. Well, there is in fact a dead fish in this swim, so I think I'm going to net that one out. It's been there a while because it's blowing and gassed up. Wowee, the size of that perch. That is a really big perch. Oh my god, I'd love to be holding that one. Really big perch. I have to tell them about that. That fish ain't far, £3. I should have put it in here. There's any water there. Look at the size of it. I'll go and tell them in the tackle shop. That is a big perch. Well, do you know what? It's me saying about perch in there, wasn't I? I was talking about the perch. And they are in this lake. There are obviously some big perch. And I've got some bubbles down there. Well, I'm set up. I've got the feeder rod down here under this bush. And you've got it after seeing a perch as huge as that. I've got worm on. This one I've got my 3 or 4 maggots. I've just replumbed the depth and we'll see if we can't get well, we'll just see if this move was worth it. A lot more colour in this water, so I guess there's more fish per density in here. And there are, just on the inside there's some bubbles, definitely. I can't get over how big that perch was, people. That was a big fish. Now, bubbles could be bream, small bream probably, skimmer bream, crucian carp, we hope, tench, we hope. They're not quite foamy bubbles, which indicates to me they might be skimmer bream. We'll find out, hopefully. More roach, I can assure you that big perch would eat a roach that size. Right, it's game on, people. Got a decent fish hooked on, it's not a roach. 4 maggots. It's chuntering away there. Oh, tench, lovely jubbly. It's a tench. In you come. There, yes. We're just about to change over to a running ledger rig, and there you go. Along comes Mr. Tench. Not a big fish, but look, you can see what I mean about changing swims, looking for those bubbles. That's brilliant. Let's get him back. Be nice to get another 1 or 2 of those. Well, so pleased, so pleased. I just didn't get the vibes off that other swim. You know what it's like, if you haven't got the vibes, you haven't got the vibes. Right, I've taken the feeder off, which I think is too heavy, and I want more movement. The fish are going to move away with the bait, so I'm leaving the rig here, the end rig as it were, and just not even put a shot on that, almost free lining it on the edge of the swim there. Because if I hook a fish, I'm going to have to move a bit sharpish, so the fish can actually move away, because with a big worm like that, I don't think it's going to come up tight on the feeder, that method feeder like that. I can watch the bow in the line here. Oh, I missed that one. I might even change that to a link ledger. I think I will. Which I used to do very well with years ago. Don't see people using it nowadays. I think the roach have a lot of these maggots, to be honest. I'm not quite sure about the little and often, but they got the often. Whew, I've got to get this brolly up on frying. No, watch me miss a bite now. So if I hook a fish on the float, I'm going to have to pull this one out of the way straight away because I'm side by side in that same swim. Oh, changing over, I've got that sort of free line worm there, got a nice rad. You wouldn't think you'd take a piece of worm that big, would you? But no trouble. He actually took that on the drop. That time I saw the line pulling tight. You guys won't see, but just where it enters the water, very often you'll see that pull and tweak away before it even registers on the top. Don't think I'll put any more bait in for a bit. Yeah, I can see that line twitching there, something's around it on the quiver tip. Well, I missed a really good fish on that free line worm, and now I've just got a treble A shot on it and a small hook and the worm. I've just had a small skimmer here. It's a crucian this time, guys. Nice one. Oh, there we go. I've lost some others as well, pretty sure. Similar sort of bites. And he's just, look, he's just nicked in there somewhere. What a lovely bar of gold, eh? It's a shame not more waters have these. This one, look, it's not a big fish. Not a big one at all, but what? Hey, look, it's a goldfish and I'm wearing gold. Brilliant. Just getting the float rod and I've got a really good fish hooked up here on that free line worm. Let's see what this one is. Oh yes, 8-inch. I had hoped obviously it was going to be a giant perch, but I'll take this one anytime. Not big fish, but well worth catching, I think you'll agree. It's just nice to come somewhere not plagued with carp and you get what I call traditional English fish. Well, I think you'll agree it's worth me moving from one to the other. Of course I could go back in that lake and they're starting to feed in there, but somehow I somehow doubt it, but the big fish are in that one. That's why so many anglers are walking past to that. But you know, they're here till 8 o'clock tonight. I'm only here for another hour and a half. Very, very warm. I'm amazed that the fish are still feeding in such a shallow water lake as well, or pond as this one is really. Oh, attention here, people. 3-lined worm. Yes. That's a very wise move by Uncle Graeme. And the change of rig from the method feeder. Well, good job I changed lakes. I mean, that's a handy thing I did. Two good things. Throw a ball of ground bait in here. That was definitely a big plus. Left it, came back after an hour, and the second thing was, it was good. Take the method feeder off and just put, I'll call it a free line. It's got a AAA shot on there. I picked quite a lot up on there, and thanks to Grant for the tip on the worms. So I would have to say, majority of those tench did come on the worm. So it's goodbye from him, and goodbye from him. We'll see you guys in the next show. Well, that actually turned into not bad bit of float fishing fun. But if I hadn't moved, would I have caught? We're never going to know. At least I did catch it. I could have caught the other place. You just got to take that gamble, guys. I'm glad I did. Now, I put up some trail cams. I put up 4 trail cams in Wight's woodland. Different places, high up, looking down. Anyway, you think, would you see anything there? Well, we keep them up there for security anyway, so there's 4. Surely I can get something on the camera there. This is what I got, check it out. So just look in the sort of top left hand corner of the frame there, you can see the movement of, yes, a deer. And he's going to be moving across. And of course on the bottom, I'm hoping it shows on this one, you've got 68 degrees, 20th of June, so you know it's done this year. There is again another clip. The clips only last so long, you know, before they reset. And it walked right through where Mike and I have done the film with for TA Outdoors. And listen, different deer altogether, I'm saying. Put it on the comments page, what you think it is. And if you notice it's the same date, different time. So I'm going to pull the first one up and say it's a muntjac, and I'm going to say, is this just a roe deer or a roe buck because it's got the horns on it? Somebody tell me who's into deers. Roe deer. Interesting though, isn't it, what it's about? Look, 5 o'clock in the morning, I think that one is, 5:02 in the morning. Is that a fallow deer? I'm not sure if it's the same deer. And at night, over by the storage cabin, look, a hare at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 days later. Temperature 57 degrees. Wait for this. 6:30 in the morning. It's got to be the same hare, hasn't it? Got to be. And the difference between that and a rabbit's smaller, hare's bigger haunches, bigger ears, got those black patches on the ears, I always think, and great big rear legs for running really fast. And he's obviously got a little bit of company with him there, so hopefully he doesn't go into the cabin. Well, he won't know the security lock, obviously, Graeme, but I guess, do they carry lots of fleas? Can somebody who knows hares tell us? And look, there he is again, a little bit later. Picked up, broad daylight, 6:40. Look at this, a deer right by the cabin door. Actually, round the cabin. Looks a bit thin, that one, I have to say. What type of deer? Tell us in the comments page. And look, a buck is that one, a roe buck. Got little horns to it. That's a different camera, by the way, folks. You can see TRA1, trail camera 1. I move them around. The time is 11:30 at night, 59 degrees, and he's munching away there. You can actually see him munching away. It is pitch black. How do they know what they're eating in the dark? Quite a chunky one, that. I think he... Now, is that the same one? I don't know. He looks like he's got longer horns. And that's in the daylight, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is unusual because, you know, there's people moving about then. Look at that chappie. Not very nice, is it? No, Roland the rat. It's a dirty rat, Forty, a dirty great rat. He's a big one too, very fat one. It's picked up on one of the other trail cams where I've moved that TRA1. Move him around a little bit. You can see him just squatted down there in the middle of the screen. Big rat. 2-2 territory, and there he is again. Look at his eyes, picked up. The problem I found with the trail cams is you only need one leaf to be moving over here, and it trips it. You've got to really wait sort of for the winter when there's no leaves on the trees. I know that, but I wanted to put it up there and see what, you know, 4 different spots, see what I could come up with. It's just interesting to see the animals, I must say. And on one clip, one camera, wait for this, over 600 clips to look at. So I have done this before, you know, when we've been doing it for security, but one camera, if that's on 4 cameras, that's 2,400 clips. Trust me, I ain't going through all of those. Anyway, let's move on. Move on to where? Ooh. Is this the most haunted house on the Isle of Wight? I went there and I filmed it. What was that? Apple Dorcombe has a shell of a large 18th century English Baroque house on the Isle of Wight. It became known as supposedly one of the most haunted houses on the island. Sightings of ghosts, phantoms and supernatural phenomena. I've suddenly got Irish. It had 65 windows and 52 rooms. Wait for this. In a 1782 court case, Seymour, wife to the late owner Richard Worsley, admitting to having 27 lovers. Wow, that's what I call a woman. The building was all but destroyed by the German bombers during World War II. But the cellar is the most active room in the house, with many who have ventured inside seeing what they call shadow people or shadow dancers. And outside they've seen a racing, speeding carriage and horses that overtakes them, but wait for this, it leaves no tracks on the gravel. Well, do you have the duvet over your head yet or not? Well, suffice to tell the tale, or film the film. Went to several attractions over on the Isle of Wight. We had abysmal, shocking weather, so bad we actually all came home as a family, both families. Do you know what? We've paid, whatever, we're coming home. Just better at home, at least I can get on with some jobs. But before that, the rain eventually stopped for a little bit, or got lighter, I don't think it actually stopped. And I found 3 classic, vintage, beautifully restored old cars. So as you can see, it's a regular car park on the grass. We were waiting to catch a train ride, and there it is. Look on the front there, a Morris Oxford. It's got a steer's head and a compassy thing on there. Beautiful these old vehicles were. They're so well maintained, it's ridiculous. I would think that petrol can is probably worth more than my wife's car. And soft top, I'm calling that, or a convertible, with rear doors as well, and on the back is your bait can. Well, it would be if you're a fisherman, you put your bait in there, wouldn't you? Get quite a few maggots in there, probably about 14 gallons of maggots. Lovely brass fittings. The tyre, the spare wheel is actually underneath, and that's made by Brooks, I imagine, the actual trunk at the back. A lovely old vehicle. These ones are really, really old. Look at the leather seating in there. Sort of plastic type windows there. A lovely finish. I'm going to call it a klaxon, and there, the one next door to it is another Morris Oxford, slightly different one, different logo on the front there. Superbly maintained, aren't they? I wouldn't like to think what they cost to get them up to this standard. It's like brass headlights. There's the crank handle that's locked up. You see that they crank it over, so that must have been before electric starter motors and stuff. I'm guessing that's a solid wheel, I don't know. By the spokes as well, it's very narrow. Some form of inlet there. Is that for the engine to cool, or is that for the people inside? I don't know. Klaxon or horn there. A lovely finish to the paintwork there, and a superb sort of maroon colour. Everything, and that's a 2-seater. You can see the horn with the bulb there. So these ones are very, very early ones. I'm calling this a Sportster, a sort of the equivalent of a nice 2-seater sports car of its time. Spare wheel on the back, and instead of the trunk on the back, it's an integral built one, I'm guessing there. So a 2-seater, the top comes down. Must be really nice if you ever get English summer to use it in. Look, it's raining now. I'm filming this with an umbrella, and there's a very, very old MG. I've personally never seen an MG this old before. That's a lovely grey. And I'm guessing, are they solid wheels? And look at the strange traction units in there, and whatever gizmos they've got. Wire spokes. You can see it's got wire spokes there to the wheels, as opposed to the rigid spokes. Now, can somebody tell us which is the older, the rigid spokes or the wire spokes? I've got a feeling a wire spoke wheel is older, surely. Who knows? Spare wheel nicely mounted there, and on the spare wheel is chained. Look at that, that's clever. It's got your wing mirror there. Nice running board. All totally, totally renovated. And a lovely spray finish to it. 4-seater, might get 3 people in the back of that, I don't know. Fuel tank filler and spring hanger there for the leaf springs. And a very smaller boot, a much smaller boot there, but that's a rigid top one. So really interesting and nice to see all these old vehicles like this, and these are obviously running vehicles. They've all been maintained to a running standard because they wouldn't be in the car park otherwise. So I just thought you'd like to see those, because it's rare to see 3 in a row outside of a museum in working order like that. I do like looking at old vintage vehicles. In fact, I like looking at anything sort of vintage. Well, especially when I'm shaving in the morning, I have no choice, do I? They don't get much more vintage than me. But I also drove up into the hills in the countryside, because I like the countryside. Drove up there to see some more olden time stuff. And listen, guys and gals, the way things are going with the world, I think it won't be long before we need to learn this stuff to survive. Let's take a look. This unusual sort of lattice work into a building. It's different, it's got thatch to it. You see the old joints there. And this strange sort of crisscross lattice, very, very strong. Just this there. Wow, it is strong. Look at different type of thatch up there, isn't it? And they're various. Have you? Wow, 1, 2, for about 4, maybe 5 different types of roofing up there. This area is called the saw pit. He makes everything from house frames and cladding to coffins, ploughs to cart ships. Demand for wood was immense. And I guess this is for transporting the trees to work with. This looks a bit more like sort of Mike's department.
Spins it. And then you have your leather.
Oh, I see.
Just on there. Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember that from Mike with Ben's, like a charcoal burner, an old charcoal burner. Normally smoke some out the top and some comes out the bottom, and the wood's different. Different sections of wood for different drying. And I'm guessing that's an early burn because the smoke's at the bottom, not out the chimneys yet. And you can block up the holes to see the 2 bricks down there maybe to block the holes up. Let it burn all down without oxygen pretty well, and then it turns into charcoal.
So you can see here the amount of timber that you need for charcoal making. And I often wonder why it is you just don't burn the wood on the fire. But of course, if you've got charcoal, I believe you can light it in almost any conditions once you get it going. A lot of the timber wastage, I would say, from woodland work or forestry work, I'm guessing years ago they probably did use in the forestry areas leftover wood for making charcoal. But of course, to make the charcoal, somebody has to be there for, I think it's at least 1.5 days. Got some old work saw horses there, as you can see. That one there's the same as the one I've made for Mike's Woodland, and my own one that I do logging on. Got a double neck to it. Not sure what that is. That's for pinching down and holding for stripping off timbers, I believe. Bark stripping, because you can see the shredding bits there. And that's for chopping, or I guess that block that's been made. To save you bending down, it's up at a nice height. Somebody in the comments page again, tell us what you think it's for. I think that's for using a draw knife. And here you can see chairs that are made. This is a old school lathe that's turning chair legs there. If you could just make out the shape of the chair leg on a pulley system with a treadle, I would say a treadle machine, like an old treadle sewing machine, that you can pump up and down, and that spins the spindle of wood, which you can then shape. And you can see you can put legs on these stools, make stools, not just chairs, you can make stools as well. All these crafts and that will get neglected and forgotten if we don't record them like this, and indeed teach people how to make things, because one day we're going to have to come back and possibly make stuff like this and get rid of all the plastic. Well, there you go.
Another one with the outdoor privy, and this one is for adults and for juniors. This used to be the old plaster and lath, I call this. God, I've pulled many a property apart with this stuff on there. It is a messy job. And then obviously they put some form of skim over the top of that. This will be their composting area, as you can see under there. Look. There's a nice old range, that one. Cast iron, coal-fired range for cooking.
Well, I really enjoy making those old mash-up films, and I love seeing all that old stuff, old buildings and the way things were years ago. They were so much more basic, but they were so much more simple and less stressful than the modern day life seems to be. So it's nice to go back there and see how people did enjoy life and survive indeed in those old days, and to see all the old buildings, that sort of thing. I like to see how they make things. And listen, I have got stacks and stacks of stuff. I've been doing a lot of different things like this. Stockpiling all the time. Possibly more than fishing, to be honest. So I've got a lot of clips. Would you people out there watch a non-fishing film, a short version if I put it up maybe midweek, just on one specific thing like those clips I've been putting up? Could be old cars, could be old buildings, could be old projects or something like that. Would you watch that? Let me know in the comments page and I'll see what I put together. Listen, if you don't want to watch it, there's the off button, isn't there? But if you do want to watch it, I need to know, because I will try and get some more footage for you. Thanks for watching this one. We'll see you again in the next one. Fingers crossed, bit of fishing and a bit of that mash-up filming as well.